Hey guys, I've just chucked the recovery boots on. I'm going to spend the next 20 minutes sitting in them. I was going to record while they were going, but the pump is actually really loud, so it makes it really hard to hear what I'm saying. But I just wanted to quickly put down a video to talk about what's happening over the next 20 weeks. Some pretty exciting things coming up in terms of content, but then also just what I'm doing with my training and preparation for an event at the end of the year. So I'm going to get through this session quickly, just listen to a quick podcast, do a few things in terms of Instagram posting on social, but then we'll get stuck into it straight after. So I'm going to chill out for a bit, but we'll see you on the other side. Guys, so just finished my session in the recovery boots. Legs feeling a little bit better than they were before. I didn't do a training session today, but these are best when you do it when you chuck them on straight after a session. Just clears the legs out, makes you feel a little bit lighter, takes out the sort of dead feeling for the next day. But I haven't done a session today. I just sort of felt a little bit sore from over the weekend, so I thought I'd chuck them on just quickly before I get back into some work, taking a bit of a break from what I was doing anyway. But what this video here is basically part one to a 20 week series, if you like. Over the next 20 weeks, I'm going to be documenting my preparation and training in the lead up to, I'm just going to bring it up on Training Peaks here, Busso 70.3, December 1st. You see we've got 20 weeks until race day. We'll see how we go. I don't really know how this preparation is going to go, and that's probably the joy of doing this and document it for you guys, is show you an insight into how sport scientists would prepare for a 70.3, right from the testing side of things all the way through to swim, bike, run training. So what sessions and where. I'm going to take you through my annual training plan when I swing around to the desk in a moment, but and how I'm sort of developing that annual training plan, the biomechanics, the cycling, swimming, running, technique side of things, bike fit, all of this is going to be covered, nutrition, hydration in particular as well. And just give you a real insight into how I go about programming, coaching any of my guys training for a 70.3, but then I thought I'd put myself through it and show you that a bit of sort of practice what I preach, if you like, and go through and do the whole preparation myself and see what the outcome is and make an assessment at the end whether it was useful preparation or if it was or if something needs to be tweaked for a future one. So I guess a couple of goals before we do swing around and get into the annual training plan side of things, because today is officially day one of the preparation, 20 weeks out. I've got to get the ball rolling this week. But I wanted to just sort of take you through my two or three sort of main reasons why I'm doing this. The first one being I've wanted to do a 70.3 for a little while, just haven't really had the time availability throughout the year or necessarily the motivation, if you like, to be able to get the training done and do it. But now seemed like the perfect time. Busso at the end of the year is a race that, a lot of athletes go over and race and love the course and rave about it. So I thought it was sort of perfect timing. We have a little bit more time, not heading overseas for the first time in a couple of years at the end of the year as well. So that also sort of came into it. So I guess the first one is just a bit of a personal goal to achieve for myself. But the second one being, like I said before, just showing you guys directly into exactly what I'm doing with my preparation. And it's something that I find a lot of coaches are too secretive on in our industry in particular, with hiding what they're doing and not wanting to share with others exactly how their preparation goes for some of their athletes or their own training. So I guess that's sort of breaking the mold a bit and going the opposite. I'm going to be sharing absolutely everything right through the types of sessions I'm doing, warm-ups, what my testing data is like, how it is changing, how I'm feeling throughout each of the weeks, what my recovery is like, all the aspects that are going to make up this next 20 weeks. I'm going to be sharing directly with you guys up here on Instagram and Facebook. So you'll be able to see exactly what I'm doing, the highs and lows of the training, and more than welcome to ask any questions throughout as well and get a bit of better understanding as to why I'm doing some of these things. And that's probably the key takeaway. It's not just going to be, this is what I'm doing. I'm going to try and hopefully explain the why behind everything as well. And obviously the sport science involved and the scientific side of things as to why I've made particular decisions about my preparation, whether that be overloading training sessions or adding in extra recovery blocks, how I've decided to go about my base, my taper, my building threshold phases, etc., planning and strategy on race day. All the aspects I'm covering off hopefully can give you a bit of an insight into how I go about it from a sports science perspective. Third one, I guess, in terms of the last thing that I want to do is really sort of shift the focus away from a bit of a traditional mindset of you need to go and do long, slow. Hopefully throughout this preparation, I can just give you a bit better understanding of where you can actually improve without doing necessarily overly huge amounts of ridiculous Ks and volume. I'm not going to have that direct amount of, I'm not going to be on a pro schedule where I'm going to be able to train 15, 16 hours a week. I'm probably going to be restricted closer to that 8, 10 hours a week. Currently, I'm running mostly at the moment, sort of 3 times a week, and occasionally on the bike once or twice. I'm not even swimming. I'm in the gym 1 to 2 times a week as well. So I guess showing you exactly how I'm going to prepare, but also keeping it quite realistic. We understand, as a sports scientist and a coach, I understand guys that I coach and deal with on a regular basis don't have pro schedules. Not everyone has it. And I certainly don't as well, working a full-time job as a sports scientist and a coach. So I guess that balance and seeing not just the ideal scenario of having the access to the testing. I'm doing a bike fitting session with the guys down at Adaptive HP. I'm going to be doing running sessions with Paul McKinnon, the balance runner. Having access to all those things is great, but and then having unlimited training time is great, but it's not always practical. So how can we balance using the latest we know about sports science, biomechanics, physiology, all those aspects, but implementing that into something that's actually achievable and realistic for an age group athlete? Because at the end of the day, that's all I'm racing. I'm going to be racing 20 to 24 age group categories. So how is all this going to combine to give me a really great age group result? But some of these things you definitely can take away if you are more looking at the pro side of things, the elite side of things. But I guess age group racing being so competitive these days, that's probably where I've sort of lent, and I reckon this is going to be mostly useful for guys who are racing age group type racing to get an understanding of how they can best prepare using every resource available to them that maybe traditionally wasn't available or traditionally was sort of lesser known about. And hopefully if I can help 1 or 2 people along their path to leading into a 70.3 race, maybe at the end of the year at Busso as well. Western Sydney is also the week before Busso. Geelong, I know, is coming up sort of early next year. Then you've got, you roll around into Busso again and then Port Macquarie. Hopefully someone can take something out of it and prepare a little bit better and a little bit smarter for their racing too. So without any further ado, today is day 1. Better get stuck into it. I'm going to flip around to the desk so I can show you exactly what I'm doing with my annual training plan on Training Peaks, how I'm going to be building throughout the next 20 weeks, but then also what's in store for the next couple of days, particularly this week is a really critical one, being my testing week. So let's flip around and get stuck into it. About to go through and do my annual training plan. I'm going to take you through all the key parts of it and where everything sort of fits, my sort of thought process behind it. This is a bit of a flexible plan, so it's not the dead end of it. It's not like this plan is set and I can't change it. I'm going to be able to manipulate it. I use Training Peaks software for all my coaching guys. That's what we're using here. But if you use something else, I'm sure there's another feature that you can use. But in terms of what I'm going to be doing is taking you through where my base phase is, where my build phase is going to be, my peaking or tapering phase, and then where race day is. Keep it really simple. Build it all out. And just give you a bit of an idea about how I'm going to go about it. All right. So as you can see, guys, I'm in my annual training plan on Training Peaks here. I've got, you might notice there's a couple of grey bars here that are my preparation week. So over the last sort of 2 weeks or so, I've just been getting some easy Ks in on the bike, just ticking the legs over and getting everything working from a bike perspective. Haven't been on the bike for a while, so probably due, but just particularly before we head into this week and when I get into a little bit later on about testing. But as for what we can see here, everything's sort of built out in the rough blocks that I want to. What we've got is race day here. So 1st of December is where Busso 70.3 is, and what I've done is I've actually worked backwards to build some of these in. So we got a race here. There are going to be some races scattered throughout once I decide which ones I'm going to be doing. But I've got peak because there is no taper option, if you like, in Training Peak. So peak I use for that. I've built race day, tapering weeks, the 2 weeks prior, all the way through sort of October and November is going to be a build phase. So you can see if I zoom in a little bit closer, see with the green bar there, build 1 is where that build threshold phase is going to start here into the taper. And then everything prior to that is going to be base. You can see that's highlighted by blue. So I'm going to go through and punch all of these out, but that's pretty much where it is. And in terms of how I go about it, I always work backwards from race day because it gives you an idea of how many weeks you've got. So ideally what I really want to be doing is racing here. Probably 2 weeks of taper is enough, and that's probably including the race week. So a week prior plus race week is 2 weeks of taper. Everything beforehand has to be build or base. How do I determine how much? I'm thinking at the moment probably about 8 or so weeks in that threshold phase, really race-specific preparation. And that's what you can see here. I've probably got about sort of late September to November, really building through and just making sure I'm sharp for race day. And then everything prior to that over this side is going to be base. So really, it's unlimited in how much time you can spend in base, just building the Ks and the legs and getting that engine up to as big a possible size. But it's pretty limited in terms of the adaptation here before you start plateauing quite quick. So I don't want to spend too much time in that build phase. Like I said, I'm going to go through and build all this out. I'll leave the camera set up somewhere so you can see me just clicking through this stuff. I'll just skip through it because it is going to take a bit of time just to put all those blocks in. But once it's done, we should have a pretty solid plan. And then I'm going to get into what's happening this week. Annual training plan is built, it's in, everything's there. Like I said, I work backwards, so starting on race day and just building it all backwards just makes it really easy to set it all out and give yourself enough weeks. There's a little bit of a sort of interesting base phases. So I'm going in two blocks of 4 with a deload. So 3 weeks building and 1 week down, 3 weeks building, 1 week down. But then 2 weeks building and 1 week down to finish out, which gives me 8 weeks to then prep fully, so that threshold specificity stuff, and then to my taper and race day. So seeing how that goes is a bit of a strategy, but like I said, this is a flexible plan. I can change it any time, and I probably will adapt it as I go. As for what's coming up this week, there's going to be some more content. Whether I split it into another video, I might just tack it onto the end of this one, but around my testing. So I'm going to be doing my bike test, I think tomorrow, maybe my run test. Haven't decided yet. Kind of just rock up on the day and hope for the best, whichever I'm feeling better. But in terms of my bike testing and my run testing, VO2 max with lactate analysis in at the lab, trying to understand where my physiology is at currently for both of those, understanding my training zones, and that's going to give me that really specific information for my training over the next 20 weeks. I'm probably going to then retest, I haven't defined the date yet, but probably somewhere middle of September or October as that middle part of the preparation to see how things are going and progressing, and then maybe before race day to give me an idea around pacing, but only if it fits in with what's going on with my taper as well, my preparation overall. So we're going to do a 3-minute ramp test on the bike and the treadie, taking a lactate sample every 3, basically going as hard as I possibly can throughout the test. Each stage just gets progressively harder, but right at the end, going as hard as I possibly can. Understanding exactly where I'm at. Hopefully VO2 is not looking too bad. Hopefully power's not looking too bad on the bike as well. That's probably my biggest concern of this preparation, is how I go on the bike. It's probably definitely my weakest. I come more from a running background predominantly. That's what I do mostly with what I'm doing with footy and umpiring footy. But in terms of what happens, so swimming wise, I'm usually pretty good. I'm not swimming currently, but I come from a swimming background. I've swum pretty much all my life, and then I was a swim teacher for a couple of years as well. So having that sort of solid foundation in that side of things is definitely helpful. Looking to build the swimming back in, but it's the bike that I'm most concerned about, got the least experience on, and I'm hoping to gain the most out of the training on the bike anyway. So hopefully that sort of balances it out. I can do pretty well swim and run, and then just bring my bike up to hopefully get somewhere close. I'll see how we go in the testing. Not entirely sure how the numbers are going to come out, but I guess it's a baseline, it's a starting point, and that's where all of our athletes start anyway. So I'm going to take those numbers, use them in the training, and then start to build out exactly what session I'm going to be doing. So look forward to that. I'm going to go make myself hurt for a little bit in some of these tests this week, and yeah, see how we go.